YouTube, Sam here. Well, we're here on the Explorer brakes, 92 Ford Explorer, 91 Ford Explorer, excuse me. And we got to get this done. And what I'm going to be using, this is what I'm putting on it. EBC brakes. Never tried them before, haven't even looked in these boxes yet, but compared to the cost of just buying the cheap brakes at like O'Reilly's or a local auto parts store, even going a step up, these are still pretty close to the same price, if not even a little cheaper from the step up. In the smaller box here, it came with a bunch of stickers. Well, it looks to be like anti-vibration or anti-squeal pads or whatever you call them, and the brake shoes, as I suspected, for both here. It also came with that right there, which looks to me like actual installation instructions, braking procedures, rotor condition, performance warranty, all that stuff there. I'll have to read through all that. And then in the bigger box we got two of these, which I'm assuming is the front rotors, which are quite a bit thicker, and in the small box two of these, which are the rear rotors. I actually have instructions on the boxes on the back side. I did buy this in a kit. I don't remember exactly how much I paid for it. It was I think I did buy them off Amazon actually. They were a little bit cheaper actually, or close to the same price on Amazon, and they actually had a kit for my rig. And I noticed on some of the other EBC places I tried to find stuff, I had trouble finding an entire kit. You can buy them all separately. You can buy the shoes and the rotors or pads and rotors. Old school there, going back to shoes. Anyhow, so you can get all those things separately, but I chose to just go ahead and go with the kit because it was a little bit cheaper, and I figured the front ones really needed to be turned. The rear ones I probably could have got away with, but I'm doing it, and like I said, it wasn't that much more expensive. By the time I got all four rotors turned and the cheap brakes, like I said, this whole kit ready to go wasn't that much more, so I decided to go this way. Let's get to it. I am no expert at anything I do, so if you see me doing something and you don't like the way I'm doing it, don't do it. I'm not responsible if you do something I do, hurt yourself, somebody else, or hurt your rig or something like that. I'm not responsible for anything. You guys are responsible to find out torque specs. You guys are responsible to look at the warnings and the instructions that come with whatever it is you're putting on. My brakes, the ones I'm buying here, might have a totally different thing for warnings and how you do it on the box that they're selling. So you guys are responsible to do your own research on what you're doing. Starting out with a, I believe 10 millimeter. Yes, 10 millimeter. We have the caliper here, and there's where your brake pads are. Break that loose. And then there's another one down here. This seems to get in the way, so I just break it loose as well. In theory, I pop the bolts completely out. Just get rid of them. Well, don't get rid of them. Set them to the side and wiggle this off. Okay, be careful because you got a very short rubber brake line here. They definitely don't give this a whole lot of room for going up and down or anything, but there's an engineer said that all they needed was that little short thing there. So we're going to take that, I'm going to fold it backwards, and I'm going to set it right there on top of the spring here. This is where I definitely say, if I do anything and you don't like it, we got the rotor here, and we'll see if it just pops off. Yeah, it did. Very simply pops off. Now the other side didn't pop off so easily, so I took a little bit of a hammer and wrapped on this, and it popped right loose, no problem. So, but sometimes you can definitely get rust down in here and in between here and the back piece here, and it'll want to stick, but no such problem on this side. Now we're going to go check out our new brakes. Got the new one out of the box sitting here. Got gloves on. Probably should have wiped this up a little better, but this actually came with a pretty impressive coating on here. It doesn't have like the crap all over that you get a lot of times when you have stuff shipped to you, because it comes with this coating on them. And right now I'm just going to kind of, without touching them too much here, just check size to size and shape to shape, holes to holes. So I'm going to go with it. So far I'm happy, and you want to make sure you do this with any parts you're changing on the car. If you're replacing the part, make sure it looks like and works like the old one at least. This wheel for wheel, except for the coating on it, looks like it'd be dead stock. I wouldn't say this has any advantage over it other than the coating, which if it does keep the rust down is a huge advantage to me. So if that works well, I'll be very happy. On the side I'm doing right now, I'm not sure if it's on both sides. There's a parking brake on this side, so I made sure that, you know, the measurement in here is pretty darn close to the same, which it is. If anything, it's maybe a little bit. Yeah, it's pretty well dead on. Alright, now we got that off, I'm going to take this, and right here where this sat, the brake pads kind of ride along here. I'm just going to take, and on the back here there's kind of a hole. I'm going to set that right on there, just so if I accidentally drop it or whatever, hopefully it won't fall or do anything. And then we want to pop the old brake shoes out here, or I did it again, the brake pads here. And these, let's see, I'm going to take the outer one off first, because this looks like it's, if I was to pop this one out, it wouldn't give me enough room in here to actually get that out of there, I don't think. So I got a pretty good size screwdriver. Now these are a lot like the Astrovan and the Chevys actually. They got these springs here and here that kind of pop into some holes. It also has some runners here and here that the brake pads actually kind of go into. I'll show you that later. But I'm just going to get in here, and we're not worried about breaking these. Just careful you don't hurt yourself. That's the main thing. These things will bite your fingers real quick. And I'm actually just going to kind of bend that out of the way and pry on it. You don't want to break your caliper. That would be a very bad thing. Take and pry that out, bend that out, and then you should be able to start pulling this up. Alright, I'm going to take that, and this is where I got this nifty little tool here. That can go down in there, and it basically goes between here and here and pushes this up in here. Now you got to be careful doing this. Some of the newer rigs have a different way. I've never actually worked on one. Another way you can do it is take your old C-clamp. This is how I did it for years before I had that tool. And put one on the back side here, one here, but you take a chance of breaking something. So I am going to go ahead and use my tool here. Now this is where I got the tool in here, sitting between here and the brake shoe or brake pad here. And you slowly, very slowly, you don't want to enter it. If you do it too fast, a couple things, you can shoot your brake fluid right out the bottle up front. And second thing, you can introduce air in here. That's less likely, but you never know. So you're just going to slowly push this back in using the brake pad that's here already. And that's going to take a while as I push it in. Now there is a different one where you have to kind of spin them in or spin them out. I don't honestly know. I've never done one of those before, but for this rig, this is how you do it. And they definitely look a lot better than these, and they look pretty well identical, all the same stuff. It's got the little nibs here and here, here and here on it. This one also, pretty much everything looks the same. You know, they really don't look a whole lot better than what I had on there before as far as an upgrade for pads. So they do have a break-in material on them. They have the grooves on them, which These ones, they're all gone. Once you quit seeing that groove in there, that means you probably went too far, and you definitely need to replace them before it gets any further than that. That's kind of what that's for. Plus it helps with heat dissipation too, I suppose. I will say, like, this one feels pretty solid. This little thing here needs pinned down a little bit more. I'm sure it'll be fine once it's in there. It just basically holds this into the piston. You'll see that when I do it. As you can see, when I put these on, these are the squill eliminators, or what do they call them? Noise reduction pads. So what I did, and this is what one of the other ones, the inside one, but they're the same shape and they're exactly the same deal here. But I put that on there like that, and as you can see with these ones, they also stick up. And I just took a razor blade and cut it so that right along here, and they have a backing pad, or not a backing pad, they have this on there and it sticks to it. So I'm gonna go with that. Yet again, if you do anything I do and you have a problem, I'm not responsible. If you don't like the way I'm doing it, don't do it. But I don't have time to send things back and try and get all this stuff, and really, those aren't really for safety. So in my opinion, I'm just going to take that as it is. I don't know if they sent me the wrong ones of these, or if they just don't care and they stick up and it doesn't really affect anything. I wouldn't even really need to take it off with a razor blade, but I figured I'd rather have it fit on there a little better that way. Anyhow, you choose to do what you want to do. First of all, I got a bucket down below here, and I'm just going to take my brake clean and just spray the ever-loving bejesus out of it. You can choose how far you want to go as far as cleanliness and cleaning. I'm okay with just kind of hosing that down and being good. This is your emergency brake stuff here. I'm not messing with that, other than, like, I may take a little bit of, I got red Scotch-Brite here. I love this stuff for cleaning stuff up. And take a little bit of that, maybe scuff it up. Yet again, you can choose to do, you know, what I'm doing or not. I figure this will kind of clean it up and maybe give it a little bit more of an edge. Let that dry off pretty good here. Take some more of this red Scotch-Brite, and I'm just gonna clean in between here, go all the way around this really good cakey, and your brake caliper wasn't gonna, or not caliper, the rotor wasn't gonna sit on here nice and flat. You'd really want to make sure you got it good. But I'm just going to kind of go around. This isn't too bad. These, I just had a little screwdriver here, and they pry off. Now, quite honestly, yet again, the pack rat I am, I'm going to keep those. If I have a problem and the other one falls off or something happens, you know, I got another couple of these that I can, next time if I have a problem, I can put one of these on instead of going and buying a whole new set. Because honestly, clean these up and they'd be perfectly fine. But I figure since I had to go buy a set from the other side missing, I'd go ahead and just replace them. Soaked it in a little bit of brake cleaner. I'm going to clean this up really good here. I'm also going to kind of, where the caliper bolts into, do a little bit of on the machine surface, I guess you'd say, where the bolts kind of go in, just to kind of clean it up. Make sure everything rides where it needs to ride, sits where it needs to sit. And this is what I got. There's 4 of these actually in the package. I've already put the other 2 on the other side. 4 of these come in this big giant box with nothing else. Hello. Can we make any bigger packaging? It's just too small of a package. Anyhow, besides that, went and grabbed these. They're a brake component, is what it says on the outside here. So I think they use this, it looks like brake hoses, wheel cylinders, wheel cylinder kit, hardware kit. So they use this box for everything. So that's why it's so big. But anyway, that's beside the point. There's the part number for my rig that O'Reilly's has on the box here. It says made in the USA. The sticker probably was, maybe. Anyway, so that's kind of what you get. You're going to pop your other ones off and put these on. They just kind of are a press fit. They really don't seem to clip or anything like that, although the ones on it seem to clip on. So we'll see how well these ones work. Something else with these brakes, as you can see here, there's kind of this squeal piece here. It's kind of so when your brakes get down to a certain amount, this starts going against your rotor and making noises, chattering. And this was on this side and this side only. Well, this piece only. The other side, this piece didn't have this on it, and I thought, well, maybe they figure, there goes my heat, maybe they figure, you know, both sides will wear at the same time. I don't know what their thought process, because you never know how brakes are going to wear. You could have a problem on one side and not the other, and not know it, and you'd have a problem. So I'm a little bit annoyed with that. The other thing at O'Reilly's, now the cheap set of brakes, the very cheapest, which this is, I gotta say, this I did get the cheapest set of EBC brakes I could find. So there's that caveat there as far as you know, what should and shouldn't come. But with the cheap set of brakes, these don't come with it. And you buy the next step up at O'Reilly's, the little bit better set, and they came with a set of these. So yet again, a little bit of quality control issues here that I'm having with the EBC brakes. Doesn't mean they're bad brakes. Doesn't mean they're made badly. From what I can see, they look pretty good. But also from what I can see, they're, other than the coating, they're not really any better, at least the back brakes, than what the original back brakes on this rig were. So yet again, I bought the cheapest set they had for this rig, and with that coating does make a difference to me. If it doesn't rust, I'll be very happy. And like I said, they're just kind of a press fit here. You just got to kind of figure out where they go and stick them up on there. Stick that on there. I just kind of get one side on and kind of press it on. Now I got my big screwdriver here. It's got the soft edge on it here, so we're gonna move that up in there. Okay, now we're back with the caliper here, and inside of these rubber pieces here are some pins, and basically you're going to want to carefully pop those out. And I just push them straight down, just a little bit of pressure, and they pop out. Okay, and I'm going to take that, put it back up over here so we don't have any problems. And same thing, my red Scotch-Brite, it's already got quite a bit of brake clean on it, so I'm just going to take that and clean it up. Alright, the next step, I got this synthetic brake and caliper grease. This is a step a lot of people don't use, and quite honestly, I went a long time without doing any of this kind of stuff on my brake jobs, but it is something I've come to find out is a pretty good idea to use some of this. And where I'm going to put that, there's a few places, starting with the pins here. I'll put a little bit on each of the pins, and I do have gloves on now because this is a pretty nasty job. Doesn't take a ton, and I don't know, you know, this is a whole lot better than just regular grease or whatever, but it is a whole lot stickier feeling. And I'm going to put a little bit more on there, and then I'm just going to take that and try and pop it down in here. Now, from the other side it was a little bit difficult. I had to kind of turn it at the same time as pushing it. There we go, and that pops in there. And then just kind of stuff it down in there until you hear it pop on the other side. Kind of hold on to this maybe a little bit. There you go, that popped in there. And there is like a little groove where each of these sit. Hear the pop, and put that up. Now when you're done with that, you're going to want to kind of push these all the way up in here. Be careful. Try not to get this where the actual brake, keep on wanting to call them brake shoes, brake pads. Try not to get them where the brake pads are going to be. Same thing, I'm going to put a little bit actually here. My battery died in the middle of filming, so I went ahead, put the brake grease on there and there. I also put some on here. Now you could choose to just put it maybe around this edge, is probably really all you need to do, but I went ahead and slathered a little bit on there. Both keeps the rust down and will also help it from, you know, sticking to it too bad if I ever need to pull these off again next time, hopefully. I've also heard of putting anti-seize in those areas, but this actually on the brake grease said to go ahead and put it in this area, so I went ahead and did that. If you want, anti-seize will work well too. I have done that before and it worked good. Anyhow, so now it's time to put this on here, hopefully without getting grease or anything bad all over it. Alright, now time to put our brake shoes back in here, brake pads back in here. I'm never going to get rid of that brake shoe problem. So it's got 3 little things here and they just kind of pop right inside the hole. This one is definitely wider than the other one by a little bit here, so gotta get those in there, preferably without my gloves getting in the way too awful much. And that just pops right on in there. And my gloves are definitely getting a little bit greasy, so I will try not to touch the other one quite so bad, but I don't know. It does have a break-in stuff on it, so you want to try not to touch it. Oop, almost put that on backwards. Now this one, the outer one, has this spring right here, and that pops. There's a hole here and a hole here, and then there's also these nubs right here that go into a groove up in here. They're actually the nubs underneath this spring go into a groove. So the main thing is kind of stick that on there, and then I'm going to take my big screwdriver, wipe the end of it off on my leg here to make sure it's as clean as I can, and I'm going to carefully pry out on this. Now this, you got to be kind of careful. You don't want to bend these, you want them to stay springy. Unlike when you took them off, you don't want these to pop loose, and it is just kind of a pain. Okay, so I'm just kind of twisting the screwdriver to try and open it up. You're definitely going to want a big screwdriver or something to do this with, because it's definitely not easy. There we go. So there's that side, and do the same thing with this side. There, that's kind of in there. Now that I got those out there a little bit, just push down on it. There we go, till it pops into that holes right there and there. And that's on there. Now I will say that in the midst of doing things, I did chip off some of the coating here, unfortunately. They don't look too bad. Now we're going to take it, and right here, I don't know if you can see that, hopefully you can, there's kind of a groove inside the bottom of the actual brake pads here. That rides right on this section right here. So I'm going to put the bottom one on first, kind of get the brakes seated in there. Oh, that's something else. You got to make sure these are pushed all the way to the edge, as far as you can get them to push there. And you're going to get some grease on you, so be careful not to touch the brakes anymore after that. That slides in there, and then that same thing. It's got a couple little arms up here that's just slide on this metal piece here. So that's on there. Now you're going to take your bolts here, the pins, and just stick them back in where they came out of. And then I'm going to take the 10mm, tighten that back up. Yet again, as most of my videos, it's up to you to find out what your torque specs are. I'm just going to take my gloves off now, because I'm not going to give you torque specs. Tighten those up. You may want to check your brake fluid, make sure it's topped off. You may want to bleed your brakes, especially if you go and do this and within the first very short little bit you don't have good brake pressure or something like that. That means you need to bleed your brakes. But if you did all this properly, unless you're doing a complete brake change or something, brake fluid change, pardon me, you really don't need to bleed your brakes. Although a lot of professionals would probably say that I'm wrong on that one. Yet again, you choose to do what you want to do. Because I pushed that piston in very slowly and took care of it, I'm going to go make sure that there's plenty of brake fluid filled up to the top now. And my brake fluid doesn't look that bad, so I'm not changing it right now. That's for a different day. You shouldn't need to bleed your brakes after doing it this way, because we didn't crack anything open. If for some reason you cracked something open or you ended up with a hole in your line or something, you'll definitely have to replace that and bleed your brakes. But doing it this way, you shouldn't have to really bleed your brakes when you're done. You choose to do what you want to do. I'm not responsible, yet again, if you do something I do and hurt yourself or somebody else. If you don't like the way I'm doing it, don't do it. Complete EBC brake upgrade on my Ford Explorer here. That should be everything. Once again, I'll tighten those down and we're all done. So, being as we're done, this is Sam, Jack of all, master of none. You all have a good one.